is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Ben Kentish.
Let's talk first this evening to Dr. Roger Giwar, political and economics commentator, former advisor to the Bank of England and the UK Treasury. Roger, good to have you with us tonight. Thank you very much indeed for your time. This argument that we're sort of hearing coming out of the government that spending cuts are on the way and there's no alternative, is that your assessment of where Rachel Reeves finds herself tonight? Evening.
I think they're running out of track. They're running out of runway. They are trying to do some lofty and noble things, but economically it just doesn't work. They're very naive and unsophisticated, and I think they're finding themselves increasingly trapped. And so they are cutting the people that they shouldn't be cutting. And they are making moves which are making them very, very unpopular. And when the chickens come home to roost, they aren't going to look very good.
In what ways, Roger, are they naive and unsophisticated, to use your words just then?
I think there's many examples, but I think the biggest one is what people are calling the jobs tax. You know, to promise that they will not touch income tax, VAT, or national insurance, and then say, ha, gotcha, we didn't say employers' national insurance, did we, mate? And then put this kind of burden, which is causing people to leave the country, businesses to close down and fail, an absolute break on new hiring, and all the other things mixed in with that. I mean, they're just wrecking the economy and the lives of most consumers in the midst of what is still a terrible cost of living crisis. It's just not a very intelligent thing to do. I'd say that's the main thing. And then I used to think that Bates Motel Hunt and Fishy Rishi were gaslighting us every hour of the day. But these people go way beyond it, because for they, especially Rachel, to be saying how wonderful all this is, and Ed Miliband, to be talking about, net zero and how it's all going to be great while everything's falling apart around them is a joke.
You think they're being more dishonest with the public than their conservative predecessors were?
By a long mile, yes.
What are they misleading people about, Roger, in your view?
Telling people that you can have growth when you do one non-growth, non-foreign investment into this country thing after another. Every day it gets worse and worse. And then to give hundreds of millions of pounds to Ukraine and hundreds of millions of pounds to foreign farmers and overseas aid and cut back winter fuel allowances.
But they have significantly cut overseas aid.
They have indeed, but they shouldn't be giving any money away when they're taking away winter fuel pensions for pensioners and lower paid people.
Talk to us about tax, if you would, because when I sort of talk to Labour MPs about what Rachel Reeves is doing, one of the things that they say is they can't understand why she isn't trying to raise more money through tax, not on working people or small businesses, she's done that already, but on the wealthy. You've got unions like Unite saying, look, people who are worth more than £4 million, they're doing all right. Tax them 1% of all their wealth, above £4 million, and that would basically plug the black hole and more. It would fund the public spending. It would get the NHS back off its knees and so on. And Rachel Reeves repeatedly is ruling out all of those sorts of policies. Why?
Well, I mean, let me answer that, but if I may, before I do, let me give you an even bigger example of why this is such a push me, pull you government, and previous governments aren't much better in this respect. We pay almost $50 billion a year in interest to the banks on the funny money printed by quantitative easing. We're just about the only country in the world that does that. Paying money, fake money to ourselves and counting it as part of the national debt, taking it out of the left-hand pocket and putting it in the right-hand pocket. If we didn't pay that money, just like Switzerland doesn't, the European Central Bank doesn't, I could go on all night with countries that don't do it, we would have enough money, Ben, to raise the tax threshold from $12,570 to $20,000. And that would mean lower paid people and pensioners would be taken
Right.
out of the tax net or have their taxes. They don't do that.
So there
And
are
why
alternatives that Rachel Reeves has in front of her, alternatives
Absolutely.
she is choosing not to take.
As in this case, as governments before her also chose. Now, in response to your question about the 1%,
Yes.
it's because I believe personally that she would drive huge numbers of people out of this country and keep huge numbers of people from investing here. It would be such an anti-business, anti-capitalist
What, a
move.
1% levy?
I know. Well, 1%, if you're worth £4 million, is still 40 grand a year. That's not chicken
But
feed.
Roger, I guess what these Labour MPs and a lot of Labour, disenfranchised Labour members are saying is Labour is supposed to take from the wealthy and give to those that are struggling. And it seems what Rachel Reeves is doing is taking from those that are struggling in order
you're
to
right.
avoid having to take from the wealthy.
Because none of these people has any practical business experience. This is
So
the
you think
least
she's actually
qualified-
right? She's right to sort of be rejecting those calls?
No, what I'm saying is she is wrong to be attacking the less wealthy people.
Yes.
But I understand her predicament. If she went after the wealthy, as she could do, she would drive even more people away from Britain and ruin any
Right.
chances of growth and foreign investment. They've got a cleft stick for themselves because of what they promised, what they introduced that wasn't in their manifesto, which now they're stuck with. They're in a real pickle.
But also, this is all this balance in the books, Roger. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is all designed to meet these very strict rules that Rachel Reeves imposed on herself. So she has got herself into this mess, and it's now disabled people, pensioners, schools, you name it, that is going to have to help get her out of it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a bit of the Liz Truss. She didn't actually perhaps think through or work through the implications of these grand schemes that she spoke about, and now, as I say, she's running out of runway.
Right. And just lastly, I mean, we've heard
Sure.
repeatedly, haven't we, that the government's not going to return to austerity. We've heard it over and over and over again. And yet we now read about potential Whitehall-wide spending cuts of up to 11%. Would that mark a return to austerity in your view, Roger?
Yeah, of course it would. Look, I mean, the thing that I find very strange in all of this, because the example is right there, and Starmer has gone to meet with him and talks to him, is Donald Trump's Doge, is Elon Musk. If they want to save some money, there is so much more waste here in the UK. I can tell you, as an American,
they are talking about that, aren't they? Keir Starmer even today has been talking about trying to cut back Whitehall expenses. They've talked about slashing the civil service. They are looking at those things too.
Where is the successful non-politician business person who they're going to appoint, like Elon, to go do that? Who, as Elon is doing, is really going to slash and burn.
Well, Elon
I
Musk.
don't think they've got the you-know-whats to do it.
Interesting. We can put that out there for people's views as well. Does Britain need its own version of Elon Musk? I would say what Musk is doing in the US is more terrifying than productive. But take Roger's point, perhaps a little bit of that sort of radicalism might help. If it's that or slashing disability benefits and talking about taking away free school meals, certainly sounds the least bad option to me. Roger, thank you very much indeed. Dr. Roger Gewald, political economics commentator, former advisor to the Bank of England and the UK Treasury. Fairly damning there, you heard it, about Rachel Reeves and the government's economic policy.